Chapter 20 Wives. I didn't win all my battles. My husbands took other wives. Hidimba, Kali, Devika, Balandhara, Chitrangada, Ulupi, Karunamati. How naive I'd been to think I could have prevented it. Sometimes there were political reasons, but mostly it was male desire. I retaliated by locking myself up in my quarters, refusing food, and throwing expensive objects at my husbands if they dared to approach me. My tantrums became almost as famous as Yudhishthir's righteousness, and over the years, not a few songs were composed about Panchali's jealousy. In truth, I wasn't nearly as upset as I made out to be. I was a practical woman. I knew I couldn't expect my husbands to remain celibate while they waited for their turn as my spouse. I knew also that I was special to them in a way that none of the syrupy beauties they married later could ever be. I'd been at their side when they were young and in danger. Marriage to me had protected them from the murderous wrath of Duryodhan. I'd played a crucial role in bringing them to their destiny. I'd shared their hardship in Kanda. I helped them design this unique palace, which so many longed to see. If they were pearls, I was the gold wire on which they were strung. Alone they would have scattered, each to his dusty corner. They would have pursued separate interests, deposited their loyalties with different women. But together we formed something precious and unique. Together we were capable of what none of us could do alone. I finally began to see what the wily Kunti had in mind when she had insisted that I was to be married to all of them. And, though they never made my heart beat wildly, the way I'd hoped as a girl, I committed myself totally to the welfare of the Pandavas. Still, it's never a good idea to let one's husband grow too complacent. My displays of temper ensured that the Pandavas continued to regard me with a healthy respect. When I finally forgave them, they were appropriately penitent. It kept the number of their wives to a minimum and, what was more important, made the wives reluctant to visit the palace. Only once was I truly shaken. When Arjun chose Subhadra, Krishna's sister, as his mate and carried her away in a wildly romantic chariot race, with her other brother, the irate Balaram, chasing after them. After they were married, Arjun brought her to me so she could pay her respects. He'd made her dress in a simple cotton saree, but it didn't hide her translucent beauty. Her lips trembled with nervousness. She had heard of the tantrums. Drops of sweat shone on her temples like a circlet of pearls. Still, nothing could dampen the drunken love in her eyes, a look that was reflected on Arjun's face. He had never looked at me that way, and never would. A pang went through me. remembrance of another man that I'd put away successfully for so long that I'd thought it was erased. And though one part of me sympathized with Subhadra's fear, the other part raged that she had so easily and thoughtlessly gained what I, in spite of all my renown as the chief queen of the Pandavas, would never possess. And so I turned from her, making deliberate, cutting remarks about seduction and betrayal until she was reduced to tears. More than Subhadra, who after all owed me nothing, more than Arjun, whose perfidies I was used to by now, it was Krishna, I felt, had betrayed me. But when I accused him of having encouraged his sister to snatch Arjun from me, he was quite unabashed. Arjun's not like a nose ring that someone can snatch from you, he said sternly. He comes and goes of his own will. Besides, you know that no matter whom else he marries, his commitment to you remains the same. But, most important, out of their union will come a great warrior, and out of him will come a king even greater. He touched my shoulder, perhaps to lessen the harshness of his words. Isn't that more important than the brief heartache you suffer? Over time, I found myself becoming friendly with the wives. This was aided by the fact that they all chose to remain with their own people in the kingdoms of their birth. Distance is a great promoter of harmony, a fact that women who find themselves in situations similar to mine should keep in mind. Surprisingly, Subhadra became my favorite. On her visits, she put up with my petty tyrannies without complaint, bringing me water, combing my hair, even fanning me on hot afternoons until I was shamed into desisting. Though no one could accuse her of weakness, she was more pliant than I. Perhaps that was why, when tragedy fell upon us both, she would handle it more gracefully. In the years of my misfortune, she would take my sons into her home, treating them no differently from her own child, deftly balancing affection and discipline. I would love her for that, but no. She had made her way into my heart long before. Her mannerisms, the way she raised an eyebrow or burst into laughter or shook her head at a display of folly, were Krishna's, and watching her made me feel that he was by my side. A decade passed thus, as in a dream, and, as in a dream, I recall those years only faintly, the way one remembers the colors of a serene sunset. Is it always like this when life goes the way we want? My husbands and I grew older, richer, more comfortable with our good fortune, and with each other, so that when at the end of a year I went from one bed to the next, it no longer caused us awkwardness. Trade and industry and art prospered in our city. Our reputation spread across kingdoms. Our subjects, flourishing, blessed us in their prayers. We held in our palms all the things we had once longed for. But deep down, though no one would admit it, we were a little restless, a little bored. The current of destiny seemed to have flung us ashore and receded, not knowing that it was gathering in a tidal wave. We chafed in our calmness, wondering if it would ever claim us again.